welcome to a look at the evolution of the game that we know and love. With me, MrSealyp. So what am I going to be doing in this video? What I thought might be interesting, and from getting comments a lot recently about mods in the mod hub on FS19 and the game and where it's going to go next and when's the new version going to come out, whether it's going to be called FS21 or whether they're going to skip that and all that kind of thing. I thought it might be interesting to go back, for me personally, to where it started for me. Not where the game started, but where it started for me as a console player, which was with FS15. I'm going to look at the three evolutions of the game that I've played in and I've been part of since my channel started. FS15 was released in October 2014, and then it was May 2015 it was released on console. So this was the first iteration of the game for console, was FS15. It started out with two maps, Bjornholm and Westbridge Hills. And then we got a third map on this, which was the Gold Edition, and that was Sosnovka. That's what I'm on now. I was looking for a map that was across all three games. Westbridge Hills is as well, but I'll be honest, for me personally, I prefer Sosnovka. That's just me personally. Across all three platforms, that is. Now, by the end of its run, it had, as far as packs / DLCs, and again, semantics, people get quite bent out of shape over that. Farming Classics, it had the Holmer DLC pack, mod pack, which was a load of trailers and things, the Neva add-on, which was a small harvester, New Holland pack, which I think had a forage harvester, New Holland forage harvester, JCB pack, IT runner pack, and the Lamborghini Nitro 120. You've got to remember, FS15, no mods. There were no mods. Those packs were all you got extra on console, that is. As far as I'm aware, logging was new to this version on FS15 for me, because this was my first iteration of playing the game. It was always on here, but I think login may have been new. And another interesting feature is there were no slots on console. No, I've got to remember so I've come back on this. I've got to remember all the buttons. Right, if we go onto here and we click on a vehicle, there's nothing about slots. I've got no slot count. I did run into trouble with this on my PS4 originally, because on this game I just went mad and bought as much stuff as I could, and I had sets of everything near every set of fields, and then I had problems with game crashes and stuff like that. Pros and cons to this, things I really like about this that we lost as the evolution went on. One was sales. I loved the fact that every now and again you get stuff come up in the sales. So vehicles, machinery, implements would pop up with a 5%, 10%, 15% discount. You could pick things up cheap. That's something on console as it moved forward we lost. And I like that as an option. I thought that was brilliant. One thing we didn't have on FS15 as well was, well, there's loads of things, but as far as animals went, you didn't go and pick them up. You didn't collect them. You didn't have animal trailers. You got your animals here from the main menu. And we only had cows, sheep and chickens. There were no pigs. There were no horses. And that fascinates me. But also you just had generic, you bought a cow, and then it just put a mixture of different colours in there for you. The same with the sheep. And with the chickens, you went around and you picked up the eggs and they went into your backpack that you went off to sell, which was, again, incredible. So for the 2 years that this ran, until the next evolution came out, it had two maps, then a third. No mods. The occasional pack that came out. The no slots thing blows my mind as well, which is incredible. There were a lot less options as well. I'm trying to think which one I want for that. So if we go across, we can change the time, which is fine. We had missions, so you had mission frequency. You didn't buy plots of land, you didn't do it for the main map, you went to the field. You could do plant growth, withering, but there was a lot less. You didn't have the option for automatic engine start on or off or anything like that. There were a few bits for camera sensitivity, but really, that was it. As far as the map went, the icons were fairly standard. We had a few placeable bits and bobs. No, that was lights. It's been such a long time since I've been on this. So we go back to that. Yeah. So we have got some placeables, but like they're just standard in-game stuff. Bits and bobs you could put down around the map and earn a bit of money or do whatever you want to. So what I've also done is I've picked a vehicle that I know is across all three, the Case Magnum. As we can see, I mean, I don't think the graphics are that bad. It's funny, isn't it? There's definitely a hazy look about everything. You can see that. There's a haze. But it's not horrendous. You know, we talk about the game now, and we talk about previous evolutions of the game, and you always have this image in your head of it being kind of blocky and comic booky and a little bit, but it's not, and it wasn't. Engine sounds and vehicle sounds were different. Lighting as well. We've got a very generic sky. You just had a sky. There was no dynamic sky on this. Plus you didn't have the sun coming up and going down. You could speed up time, but there was no real kind of light source. And I found that when I was trying to take thumbnail pictures for this. The red on the tractor seems maybe a little bit washed out possibly. But when it came to taking a picture for the thumbnail, it didn't seem to matter. There was a defined light source, which I think changed hugely as the game progressed. But this, to me, again, there's that nostalgia thing. It doesn't feel bad. It doesn't, you know, I don't know. I came back on and just thought, I just forgot how great it was. So, missions, and this was the thing. We go over and click on this. Oh, there we go. So you picked up missions. You went and collected things. You picked up a pallet from somewhere, took it somewhere else. The field mission thing wasn't so much of a thing. It was just jobs around. You went and did, which again, kind of incredible, really. I'm struggling here remembering what the that's my skipping through. So I'm just trying to remember for controls. I was pressing down on L3. There we go. Gave us this menu, and these were a lot more simplified, but I also think I liked the menu when it was like this. We've got the weather there, there's stuff about vehicle sales, prices. I love that, you know, the prices at various different places, how much you've got in storage there, what's going up and down, what's staying level, and then the map, and you can change what you want on there. All types of tractors. It's just growth of the fields, productivity of animals owned. So all the stuff it was here in the menus. That was what I wanted to check actually, was the map to find a field that I don't own. Fruit types. Just growth and fruit types is all we've got. Where am I? I need one that I don't own. Maybe up to 3 or 4. Let's drive down and see if we can find a field that I don't own. Now, as we got modded maps, as things went through, when we got to FS17, you had that thing where you had, on some maps, a for sale sign by the side of the field as well, which we kind of lost as the game evolved and moved forward. Oh, that was something else I was going to point out. Something I feel we lost, and I don't know if it's just me imagining things. But if we go into this menu and I go and pick a pickup, I loved this original pickup. I thought it was brilliant. Let's just pick a default colour. I can fetch my purchase at the store. Wonderful. Didn't have all the options. It just looks great, but it's the suspension. We've lost that. On some mods we've got it on FS19, but the base game pickups are horrendous for going over bumps. When you look at this moving, I love the fact the suspension actually kind of... Look, the suspension works. It works on 15. If I remember, when we get onto the 19, I'll show you. We'll go over a couple of bumps, and it just seems a lot more clunky. This is smooth. I don't know. I think we gained a lot of stuff as it moved forward, but we did lose some things too. The pickup on FS19, as you can see already, it's just more solid. Look, there's no suspension travel. It just goes clonk, look, clonk, clonk. I don't know. I don't know what's happened. It just lost something, you know. The pickup's a newer design, I get it, but Why take that away? I don't know. I thought I'd take a quick cut, because I mentioned it and then forgot to come back to it, about buying fields here on FS15. Unlike on 17, when we move forward and the field icons are on the side of the field and they give the option to do the field contract, whatever the contract might be at the time, because we've got the mission system on here which refreshes, when you come to the field, buying is just simply that. You clicked on R1, comes up with a field number, what the size of the field was, what the value was, and whether you want to buy it or not. It was that simple. Now I'm not going to go into every single detail, and I'm going to miss some details. There'll be things people say, oh yeah, you didn't mention this, you didn't mention that, and that's fine. It's just kind of a snapshot of what it was. I mean, looking at the menu here, top right, it's clear, it's crisp. I know as they move forward they wanted it to be more like a head-up display, and I found that sometimes, I do find that sometimes, depending on where you turn and you're looking into the sun or around it, it's hard to see on the displays. This was quite straightforward. It made life very easy. So, what we're going to do now is head over to FS17 and see what's changed. So as we move into FS17, things have changed. As you can see, the haze seems to have disappeared a little bit. Engine is still running. We've got the option to have auto engine start on or off. The game was released with two main maps again. A new map, Goldcrest Valley, and Sosnovka, which was the gold release from the previous version, came through. As we moved on, we then got the Platinum Edition. The third map was added, which was Estancia Lapacho. But for console gamers, this was huge, because FS17 was when mods came to the console version. The other thing as well, this was released October 2016, cross-platform. I think it was a little bit later on Mac it came out. By the end of its run, as far as packs went, there was the Roper pack, Big Bud pack, the KUHN pack, and obviously the Platinum expansion, which came with the Estancia Lapacho, and then a load of South American stuff with Stara equipment and things like that. Also, by the end of its run, as far as mods had gone, we had 45 mod maps in the mod hub available to play on console. Chellington being the first mod map on console, which unfortunately, as we know the situation at the moment, is not so great. We also got, unfortunately, slots, which was not great. If we go into here, we can also see options a whole load more. We can change the timescale again, traffic on or off. We couldn't do that before. We've got a dirt option, automatic engine start. We've got the option for buying and selling of seeds and fertilizers. Growth we could do before, and withering we could. We've got fertilizer states. So we could change our fertilizing states if we wanted to make it easier or harder or however you want to go about it. The map screen was vastly different. We had a lot of option to jump to things and move around on the map. Things had changed, I personally think, for the better. If we go into, where are we? If we go into our menu for vehicles, we've still got sales. On FS17 we had that. It would pop up every now and again. You'd get a sale of a vehicle or a piece of machinery, but if we click on top right hand corner, the dreaded slots have appeared. Now I'm pretty sure most maps had, was it 1,000 slots then? I'm trying to think. I mean, it's an arbitrary amount that's added in to allow for the RAM space that's required. I understand that. I'm sure it was 1,000, wasn't it, per map? Maybe it was more, I can't remember. And yeah, so we had slots. I actually, looking at this, think that the menu and the vehicles showing there look cleaner, look tidier. You know, I'm just trying to think between the three versions. It does look very, very nice. As far as mods went, total mods implemented into the game there were hundreds. You know, I did go through and try and start counting. I thought I'm going to be here all day. But it was 45 maps. And then obviously the ones that came with the game, so maybe 48 in total, which is quite impressive. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, we didn't have the option to select or deselect mods. So whatever mod you installed was the mod you came onto the game with. So now on 19 we've got the ability to select and deselect as we go into each map. You can pick which mods you want to have available as you go. Pigs were added. We didn't have pigs before. Pigs were added into the game. What is also very nice about that, and we're going to have a look at that in a second, is that we had a running total when you were buying animals. That's gone on 19, and I think that's a step backwards. As far as fields and things went, you could come onto each field on that little icon and you had the option to do a harvest contract or a contract, whatever it might be, or buy the field. You could do either. Start the contract, buy the field. But here's the big difference. On 17, you started it, you had to finish it. You couldn't save. There was no ability to save part way through. If you came out of the game, the contract was done with. You couldn't save part way through. I was talking to DJ Goham and Clutch on the Farm Sim show on Friday, saying that when I've hit 100 subscribers on Chellington Christmas Eve, I think it must have been in 2016, I hit 100 subscribers. I was doing a potato harvesting contract on a massive field, and because I couldn't save it, all I could do was pause every now and again. It took me most of the day. So yeah, that's a huge change, and having the icons here that you come to buy your field rather than doing it from the main map is quite a big difference. The graphics, again, we've got the static sky. The clouds aren't really moving, it's all there. The light as well, we don't have a very kind of definite light source like we have on 19 now. It does, I don't know, this feels better from that respect. Again, I know that sounds peculiar, but it does, and I'm not sure why. What we'll do is head round. I want to drive a little bit on here as well so we can see a bit of the map as we go. Trying to think what we got on here. Oh yeah, the other thing we had on here, this was the first time as well you could choose a character, the character you played with, and there was a female character to choose from, which we had never had before. And also when you did missions on fields, because certain people own certain fields, the more missions you did for those people, the lower the price of the field became for you when you went to buy it. So you could reduce the price of the field when you came to buy it by doing more contracts for people. Brilliant feature. Great idea. I really like that. The trains still weren't drivable, but we had the option on here that when you sent something off, you'd pull the lever, you'd load up a train, and the train would go off. That was great. I loved that as a feature. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. So what we're going to do is come up to the sheep pen, and we'll have a look at the sheep menu, and I'll show you what I mean about the counter. I'm just looking down my list of things I wanted to say. I think I've covered most of the options. This was sold as, I think it was it 80 manufacturers, over 250 vehicles. You know, it was a big deal. The vehicle seems a little bit crisper, a little bit tidier, a little bit neater. The graphics are improved a bit. So when we come up to our animals here, that's for wool pallets. If I click on here, why is that not working? That's because my trigger's around this side. If I click on the trigger, and it's again generic animals, we didn't have that mixture of animals, but when you click on buy, if you look where it says buy 4,000 on the right hand side, it's given me a number next to it. That tells me how many. It's a simple thing, but it's surprising when you get on to 19 that when you go in there and decide, I want to buy 100 sheep, you know, you're like click and count in your head. Why was that counter removed? I don't understand why that counter was ever taken away. That's a simple feature, tiny little thing, but it's there and it works brilliantly. Now, we could transport our animals ourselves on FS17, which we couldn't do before. A really nice step forward in the game. What we'll do is go a little bit further. trying to think as well. Was this the first? Again, I may get a couple of bits wrong here. Was this the first one where we had the ability for buying pallets and things? Our menus are all here with all different information. We can borrow money and repay money. Oh, that was the other thing I meant to say on the first one and on this one. When you bought a field, you bought the field. So when you saved up and you bought it, that was it. It was yours. You owned it. There was no way of selling it back again. It was yours forever at that point. So it became a lot more of a... You had to be much more careful about doing it. I know that led on to FS19 for field flipping and that kind of thing, but you had to really consider it because it would take you a long time to build your money up. Now on console as well, because we had mods, this was the first time we had a cheat mod, and there was the cheat box mod, which allowed you to cheat money in to help you. I know a lot of people don't agree with that kind of thing, but again, adding mods in and then getting that as a mod made a big difference to console gamers. It was a big thing and allowed you to kind of get into the game a lot quicker, expand things and play around, and if you wanted to just come on and have a bit of fun, you could very easily. That was a massive difference. So we go into the vehicle menu. I'm pretty sure it was, wasn't it? We had pallets. Yeah, there we go. So pallets were a thing. I don't think we had them on... It was just seed refill points and stuff on 15, wasn't it? I forgot to check that when we were on there. Like I say, I will miss something as I go through. I just thought it'd be a nice, kind of interesting look through at all the things that have happened. But that was a big difference. So, from here, let's close the map. Let's move through time and head into FS19. And here we are, FS19. Now, I know a lot of you, this is the current game you're playing on. And you'll be thinking, okay, we don't need to know about this. You know, we're playing on it already. And I understand that. You can already see, graphically, it seems even crisper, cleaner, tidier. Lighting has changed massively. We have a much more directional light where the sun moves across the sky. We have dynamic clouds that move across the sky. We have wind that's been added in. There's a lot of features on FS19 that I do, so I assume a lot of people do, have got to a point where we take them for granted. We just take them as, well, yeah, that's the game now, isn't it? And again, I hark back to the very start of this. A lot of people I've found are upset, angry, frustrated, about the fact there's no new game at the moment, the fact that the game's stale, it's not moved on, we haven't really got anything new. And this is the first time in the franchise that they haven't done a new game in its kind of 2-year cycle. FS19 was released November 2018, so we've gone beyond the 2 years, which I know it surprises a lot of people. I can understand why Giants did what they did. In the span of the run so far on this game, it started out with 2 completely new maps, Ravenport and Fellsbrunn. It didn't bring one over from the previous version. As we've moved through and we've got the Alpine farming expansion, we've got the 3rd main map that's been added, which was Erlengrad. Again, completely new map. As far as maps go, if you remember what I said going back, FS17 had 45, 48 including the base game maps. We're up to 129 or 130 maps now. That's a crazy amount. Mods went berserk on FS19. Something I meant to mention on FS17, we had the first iteration on console of the Seasons mod. And it was a game changer, massive, changed the game hugely. New lease of life, changed all the parameters, all different stuff. With any big change like that in a game can come problems, especially again when you're adding mods into the mix, mod conflicts, mod clashes, different maps, different mods, all of these things changing the parameters of an entire game. There will be problems, issues and glitches. It happens. As far as we stand at the moment with regard to packs on here, the most we've had we've got the Homer pack, the Anderson pack, the John Deere pack, the Class Platinum edition, which bought tons of vehicles, the Borgo pack, the Kverneland and Vicon equipment pack, the Alpine farming pack, which bought bought the new map. We've just had the Grimmer pack, which obviously is done with a modder. Now, off the back of talking about seasons that we got on FS17, we've got the updated version of Seasons from Realismus. We've also got the add-on Straw Harvest that came from Creative Mesh, which again added a whole load of new stuff in with pellets and things like that. In this iteration of the game, we also were given a lot more new crops that we didn't really encounter before, and the option to do them. Factories were added in by modders, which we didn't have on FS17. But as far as the base game goes, what did we get at the start? Well, birds was a thing that, again, we all take for granted. They kind of drive across the field, they fly up in the air, they're flying around. Birds was new. Horses were added in. So in addition to the animals we already had, we've got horses added in. The chickens got a bit of a revamp, and we've now got chicken boxes. We've now got pallets and bags and all sorts of stuff for putting eggs in, which is absolutely fantastic. We got weeds, which we hadn't had before, which then brought herbicide and herbicide spraying, which we hadn't had before. With the seasons and the winds, you had all the stuff with the new hay and everything that brought. But then we got, much more recently, the precision farming pack, DLC, download, however you want to refer to it, which again massively changed the game. Adding in, if you think of the evolution that we've looked at so far from 15 to 17, the changes from 15 to 17 were pretty big. Mods being included, that kind of thing. If you think about a new game coming out and a company saying, okay, what are we going to bring, what's going to be fresh, what's going to be new to the game, precision farming in its own right is a massive change, which again revamps and overhauls everything in the game. Seasons by Realismus, and I don't know why and whether or not in the next evolution whether that will be a base game component from Realismus, changes the game massively. But if you think back to when this released in 2018, landscaping on consoles, something that can be the bane of people's lives, can drive them insane, we got landscaping. In essence, the ability to create your own map. And because of that, the mods went mad. Mods went wild. Because it then gave people the ability to say, well, we can just mod so many more placeables, so much more stuff, so many things that can be added in to completely alter everything that the game is doing. That in itself is a huge change. But, and there's always that but, as I said before, any of these massive changes and implementations into a game potentially bring conflicts and clashes with mods, with maps, with the game itself, with the coding, with the scripts. So for every evolution forward we go, and all the new stuff we get, and all the exciting changes we get to the game, and they are exciting, this probably comes off the back as well. I myself have found myself getting frustrated when people are, yes, we can all be negative and we all want new stuff and we all want bigger stuff and we all want fancy stuff. I totally get that. But when you do actually stop and think about what the game has now that it didn't have in 15, especially for console gamers, it is, for all intents and purposes, a different game. It is a completely different gaming experience. It's so much more immersive than it was before. I've almost done a complete circuit round. I'm just looking at my list to see if there's anything I've missed that I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, the contract system, of course, on FS19, the ability now with contracts. You take on a whole contract. You harvest a field, you take whatever it is from that field, you deliver it. We didn't do delivery. You didn't have deliveries in the mission system. The ability to save during a contract. So if you're doing a big job, a big harvest, you can save it, you can come out, you can come back in and carry on. That in itself, that's huge. That's a massive change. But another one of those ones that we kind of just go, yeah, okay then. At the start of the game, when you load in, character customization, far much more detailed than it was before. Although no beards. We need a beard, don't you think? We need a beard, definitely, as a character customization. The ability to select and deselect mods when you've chosen your map and you go in to pick and choose what you want in there, so everything's not in there at the same time. As far as options go, when we scroll through the menus, so many more options available now as we go through the different menus. Obviously, you've got the weeds on and off now, lime required, you know. What was one of the other ones I was going to point out that I thought it was autosave, you know, the autosave intervals. Some of the other ones that we got from 17 are still here, which is great. And the thing about it is it perfect? No, it's not. There are things that could be tweaked, that could be improved, that could be changed. Have we lost some things from 15 to 17? Yeah, we have. I think we have. The animal counter thing, I think, absolutely should be an absolute must-have in there. The menus or the screen thing, we've gone for more this head-up display thing where it's there but kind of not there, which is great. But like I say, you go up to, it's not too bad here, but if you've got a really sunny day and you go up and sometimes it kind of obscures it and blurs it and you can't quite see it as well. What was big for me, I thought, as well, was the ability for the Logitech heavy equipment side panel to work on 19, which I think was an accident. It wasn't programmed to do that. It's designed for PC. That for me made the game 100 times more immersive. It just added a whole new element to the game, accidental or not. And I know people say, yeah, but Giants didn't do that. I know, and Giants don't make most of the mods, and Giants didn't do the add-on Straw Harvest, and Giants didn't make the Seasons mod, and the Grimmer pack was done by Pepe978, and you know, but it is all now compatible. It is a huge evolutionary step forward in the game, which kind of brings me on to thinking about where does it go next. Oh, railways. I didn't even talk about railways, so I'm thinking about that now. The ability to drive trains, that was new on 19, wasn't it? We could send them off before on 17. 19 we got the ability to drive trains and load trains as well on the maps that have them. With Erlengratt being able to send a train off which actually technically goes off to another map to sell things, which is, again, that's incredible. Now, I'm going to go back to what I said before. I'll have missed stuff. I will have missed loads of things. And I know people will put in the comments, you missed this, you missed that, you missed that. What about this, what about that? Absolutely. If there's anything I've missed, stick it in the chat. Put it in there. Remind yourselves of what's different, what's improved, how far the game has come. If you're new to this and FS19 is the first version of this you've ever played, I hope you kind of had an ability to kind of look back a little bit and think, wow, you know, that is incredible. It has changed a huge amount. But as I drive back down towards the store now, the question I'm going to ask is, where does it go next? What happens? Where do Giants go? As far as I'm aware, I'm hoping I'm not misremembering this, Giants are no longer with Focus Home Interactive as their publisher. I think Giants decided to go on their own, so the next version, whatever happens next, is going to be done by themselves. Good or bad, don't know. We'll see how they go about doing it. Are we going to see the game evolve, but through a series of lots more DLCs and expansion packs rather than an actual completely new game? The argument is being had by people saying, well, we're not going to get an FS21 anymore, it's not going to be FS21. There are arguments both ways to that, in that we are in 2021. The next evolution of the game, if they do it, even numbers are normally Android and odd numbers of the game releases, that if they follow that, the next one will be FS21. And we still are in 2021. If they're going to bring a game out this year, it would make sense to call it FS21. Are they going to skip that? If they do bring out a new game, and I'm not saying I have no idea when it's coming. I don't know any details about it, nothing at all. What do you want to see? If you think about where it's come from, 15 to now, where does it go next? What's the next step? What do we get? Dynamic ground. You know, actually squelchy, boggy mud, where your actual tyre choices have a huge impact. Compaction of the ground. We've got the precision farming DLC now, soil sampling and things like that, so maybe compaction could play a part in how well or how badly your fields yield. More animals, different crops, different machinery. Where will it go next? All I can say is from where I started in FS15, where I've gone with the game, with the channel, with the community, I'm excited about where it goes next. I'm not annoyed or angry or frustrated. Do I want it to come sooner rather than later? I'd rather it came when it was ready. I'd rather, as a lot of game companies do, they will release stuff way too early, and it's not ready, and it's full of problems. Now, FS19 was not without its problems when it released, and every game will get updates as it goes through its life, and it will need things tweaked and changed and adjusted and altered. Because as I've also said, when I do my map tours and my mod reviews, you can test something, no problem at all. I can go around a map, I can test it, I can look at a few things, no problem. I won't find everything, I won't show everything. You then take that same map, that same mod, that same game and give it to millions of people who will play that game in millions of different ways, different configurations, different bits of machinery, especially with landscaping, changing things in ways that the game or the game developers and creators may have never even considered. That's when you're going to find the problems and the issues. So, I don't know. Has it changed for the better? I absolutely think so. There are definitely more positives, more pros, more evolutionary steps forward in the game than there are negatives. There are a few negatives here and there. I'd like to say I would love to have that counter come back. There was another one, and I'm racking my brains now trying to think of what it was. I might have mentioned it earlier, but I honestly cannot think. I mean, slots is one of those things people are saying on consoles. With the next-gen consoles out, do we need to have slots anymore? But that's not implemented by Giants, as far as I'm aware. That's something that has to be, I say has to be, because companies like Sony and Microsoft don't want their consoles crashing and having problems. It makes the console look bad when technically it's the game that's causing it. I don't know. You can kind of see both sides of the argument on there. Yeah, what else do we have on this? Oh, the ability. Did I mention the ability to buy and sell land back? I mean, that was just, that gave you the ability to buy a field, do the harvest, sell it back. Field flipping. It wasn't a thing before, didn't exist. But it does give you a lot more scope to play the game the way you want to play it. Like I say, if you've got, what do you think? Where do you want to see it moving forward? Stick it in the comments. What are your ideas? I'd like to think at this point, a lot of people will stop and think, actually, yeah, we have gained a huge amount. We have got a lot more. And when you do see it in that start kind of step by step, it is quite amazing. I mean, for me as well, doing this, having done the Farm Sim show with DJ Graham and Clutch Simulations, and talking about my channel and where it started and where I am now, the evolution of the game from 15 to 19 mirrors the evolution of my channel, and how I've gone from playing in my spare time, having a bit of fun, posting videos, channel starting to grow, getting to a point where I could actually think I could possibly do this as a career, as a job. As the game's then developed, and obviously with FS19, FS19, the Farming Simulator League kind of becoming a thing. I'm doing the commentating for that, and it's been a crazy ride, and it is a crazy ride, and it is continuing. So I think, getting a bit deep and philosophical, I think every now and again it doesn't hurt to just stop, have a look round, take a deep breath, and think about it all. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you found it, entertaining, a bit of an eye-opener. If you're new to the game, you may not have even realised half the things that we kind of take for granted. If you have, and even if you haven't, give us a like. If you don't subscribe yet, please do. If you want to leave a comment, feel free. And if you want to share this video, then please be my guest. Whatever you should choose to do. Thanks for watching.